This is GED Teacher Damon Tinnon, and here I am with video number 3. So this has been a 3-part video series about GED Social Studies. In the first video, I talked about easy GED Social Studies questions. In the second video, I talked about medium GED Social Studies questions. And here in this third video, I'm going to talk about a hard GED Social Studies question. So if you've been following along with the videos, let me just say, if you haven't, I would suggest you go back and watch video 1 and video 2 to get the concept down of the easy and medium, and then here we are at hard. So if you have been following through, though, here we are at number 3. So the question here is a statement: GDP is the market value of all the goods and services produced in a country in a particular time period. Which strategy below is most likely to increase Japan's GDP? So we see Japan is here, the green. We come down here and we see that Japan has the lowest GDP of USA and China. Now, in terms of the world, it's an amazingly huge GDP, but just in terms of just these 3 mega economies, Japan lags China, and China lags the USA. So now, so we know that that's what this chart is showing us here in billions. So we're looking at trillions of dollars. So the U.S. would really be at 18 trillion. China would be somewhere around 10.3, 10.5 trillion, somewhere around there. And then Japan is down here, probably at about 4 trillion or something like that. So we have to look at which strategy is going to increase their GDP, considering that GDP are the value of goods and services produced in a country. So the first one, reduce the amount of automobile imports. Well, if we're going to reduce the amount of automobile imports from China and the USA, that might provide other benefits to the economy, but that's not going to necessarily increase the value of goods and services. Now, you might think, well, if they took in less Chinese and USA cars, maybe they would make more Japanese, but this doesn't show us anything about Germany. They make quite a few cars. This doesn't show us anything about England. This doesn't show us anything about France. So they still would potentially be receiving automobiles. And GDP is really about what you produce and what you serve in your economy. So simply reducing imports is not going to necessarily increase your GDP. And again, we're looking at which strategy below is most likely. Okay, so then the second one, execute a trade agreement with China that reduces tariffs on electronic exports to China. Okay, so if your goods are cheaper and to go into China and you're able to potentially produce more, that might be a likely strategy of these strategies here to produce. So we're going to go ahead and mark that one as a good choice as we continue down the list. Because again, we're looking at which strategy below is most likely, not necessarily which one is right or wrong, because it's just a strategy, right? So again, on the GED test, you're being asked to kind of think about this in this way. Most people, when they are on the test, they get caught up and they get a little bit defensive and they think about, well, what's right, what's wrong. But the question says which strategy below is most likely. So you have to keep that in mind. We're just looking at the most likely strategy. This third one here, direct its national banks to increase interest rates offered on savings accounts. Well, if you were to increase interest rates, you might increase your GDP because more people would maybe put money in the bank, and then maybe you would have more service based upon that money. But by and large, is that something that's really going to move the needle? Probably not, but we're still going to mark it. It's a potential as we continue to go down here through these choices. Enact new legislation that allows the House of Councilors Japan has two pieces of its legislative branch, like America has the Senate and the House of Representatives. Well, they have the House of Counselors and the House of Representatives. So another strategy might be enact new legislation that allows the House of Counselors to unilaterally approve new trade agreements without the House of Representatives' consent. Well, we're going to leave that one too, because as a strategy, what if the trade agreement is bad? So that may or may not be a good strategy, and then they lose government controls. So it's really coming down between these two in terms of what is the best strategy, or which is strategy most likely to increase. And so here, the savings account, maybe people will put more money in the bank, but really, if they were going to raise interest rates, really that's the banks really offering more money to the customer. So the banks in that case would probably not necessarily come out on top. They would come out on top in a general sense, but would that really increase the services of the country, or is that the best strategy? I would cross that one out. So then that would bring us here to executing a trade agreement that reduces tariffs on electronic exports to China. China being the largest population in the world, having a huge economy. If they were able to get cheaper goods into China, that will be a way to increase the amounts of goods that they produce. And so that will be the strategy below that's most likely to increase their GDP, because this strategy here goes directly to the production of goods and then potentially even services. These other items either are not forceful enough or don't go directly to the production of goods. So again, on the GED test, there is that analytical level where the answer is not here in the chart, but the answer really has to be analyzed and really inferred. There's a skill called inference. And so you really have to infer from the text that talks about the value of goods and services. And then the one item here that really directly talks about goods in electronic items is here in a way to increase that. So again, this has been GED Teacher Damon Tinnon. I hope that these videos have been helpful to you. If you like this video, please click on the like button. That lets YouTube know that it's a valuable video out here. And also, if you'd like to get more content like this, subscribe. And that way, however you have your notifications set up, you will get those notifications to your email, text, or whatever you do, and you will know when I produce new videos for you to check out. So again, more information, you can always go to my website, mygedlive.com. Thank you.